Hi Art,
Hi.
my name is Chasen Hawkins.
Hi, Jason Hawkins.
I am here to interview you and ask you some questions.
Fine.
Those are my intentions. What is your
Okay.
name?
Arthur Schneider,
How old are you?
84.
How do we know each other?
Just you lived down the street from me.
Down the street?
Yeah, as a neighbor.
As a neighbor, and we moved on from there. So, what is the best place you ever traveled?
Probably the best is the United States. Of all the countries in the world, I feel the United States is the best.
The United States?
Yes.
Where in the United States?
All 50 states.
All 50 states?
Yes, combined.
You don't have a favorite state?
Not really. I mean, they all have their plus and minuses, but overall, I don't think you can beat any of them in any other country.
What's your least favorite state?
Least favorite is probably New York.
New York?
Yes. It's overcrowded, followed by California, which runs a close second.
What's the best state?
South Carolina.
South Carolina?
Yes.
Could you explain why?
Well, let's start with the weather, the economy, the people, opportunities. They have two fantastic universities, and they have the east shore of South Carolina, and you have the mountains in the west of South Carolina, and tremendous lakes, beautiful scenery.
What was your favorite toy or activity as a child?
Favorite toy?
Or activity?
Well, I used to play golf with my father a lot when I was very little, and I was into model trains.
Model trains?
I love model trains, setting them up, taking them down, building, things like that.
So, when did you get into golf the most, or when did you become really good at it?
Well, I would say that I never really became good at it. It was more of a recreational thing, but when I was 5 years old, I used to accompany my father to the golf course, and he would give me a golf club. I was right-handed, he was left-handed. So I used to swing and hit the ball with the back of the club, or I would wander around and find the lost golf balls for a few years. And then when I was big enough, then he bought me my first set of golf clubs. And from there, the rest is history, as they say. And I'm still playing today. So it's been 80 years, let's say.
Do you have any regrets?
Not really. I think in my lifetime, I've accomplished most of my goals, and I feel that, no, I don't have any regrets, none at all.
You don't have any regrets?
No, I mean, we all have our ups and downs, we all have our good times, our bad times. But as far as actual regrets, and to say that I should or coulda, or what is that, can't think of the term right now, a wish list, or, not really. I pretty much was able to do what I wanted to do at each stage of my life.
Is there any big mistakes that you've ever made in your life?
Big mistakes? No. I made a lot of little mistakes, but no major mistakes.
Nothing you could remember?
No, not really.
What was your favorite job?
Favorite job? I'll tell you, actually, my best job was my first job.
Your first?
And I worked in a drugstore. In those days, I was a soda jerk. But I really enjoyed that, working behind the fountain, delivering prescriptions, working in the pharmacy. I really enjoyed that. And the reason I did that was I wanted to save money to buy a bicycle. And I started at $7 a week.
Really?
And the bicycle that I wanted was $80. And I figured, well, if I saved my money and got $80, I could buy my bike. Well, by the time I reached 17 at the time to buy the bike and had enough money, I had my driver's license. I didn't want a bicycle anymore. So then from there, I was saving my money to buy my car.
So, how old were you when you started working there?
16.
How long did you work there?
Approximately a year.
A year.
Before that, I delivered newspapers.
Newspapers?
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, that was an adventure. In retrospect, that's probably my least favorite, because you had to get up early in the morning, sunshine, rain, snow, deliver newspapers, and then try and collect on a weekly basis. It was a pretty nightmarish adventure. For some reason, they wanted their newspapers early in the morning, but for some reason they really didn't want to pay for them. So.
How old were you?
Well, I was about 12 when I started that, and I did it for 2-3 years probably. I stuck it out. I needed the money to buy things.
What was your favorite memory of being a parent?
Being a parent? Oh, all of them. Just the fact that I was a parent. I had 3 daughters and 1 boy, and I enjoyed them all, and I really enjoyed being a parent. And again, had good times, bad times, but overall, can't beat it. Great, that was the greatest experience of my life, being a parent.
What did you do when any of them misbehaved?
Well, like any parent, you would discipline them. And they all had their moments. I was fairly strict, but not overly strict. I did have, probably because I had a military background, I was probably a little stricter than the norm, but I never abused them. I never punished them unfairly. I tried to be fair with all of them, 95% of the time.
Were you proud of all your children?
Oh, definitely, definitely. I was very lucky and fortunate in that respect, yes.
What was your favorite memory of being a grandparent?
Well, it's an offshoot of being a parent. Now all of a sudden I have a second generation to spoil. Because basically that's what happens when you become a grandparent. All of the mistakes you made as a parent, you compensate being a grandparent. Right, wrong, or indifferent. Good, bad. But overall, I really enjoy being a grandparent. I think the biggest satisfaction is that when your grandchild comes to you for advice, that really is the essence of being a grandparent, is that they have enough respect for you and your knowledge that they feel you could help them.
That's great.
More so than your own child. For some reason, your child doesn't think you're quite intelligent enough to solve their problems, but the grandchildren feel that you know everything.
Wisdom comes with age.
That's it. That's exactly what it is, I think.
How old are your grandchildren, and how many do you have?
Let's see, my oldest grandson is 33. Next grandson is 24. Another grandson is 18. And I have a granddaughter that's 16. Then I have two younger granddaughters. They're 14 and 13, and 2 more grandsons that are 10, and 9.
Is there any favorites?
No, not at all. They're
No.
all great. They're all perfect.
What was your hometown like?
Well, I was born in Newark, New Jersey. And the Newark that I grew up is light years away from the Newark of today, unfortunately. Time has taken its toll on that city. But I was fortunate enough to be raised back in the 40s and the 50s, where you had the whole city to explore. It was safe, and there was a little bit of everything. And so I really was fortunate to be raised in that city.
Would you ever go back?
Not today. There wouldn't be any reason, because I don't have any family or friends there any longer. But no, I don't think it would be something that I would enjoy.
Was the weather good?
Well, it's a typical northern state. You know, you had harsh winters, hot summers. It certainly is light years away from the southern states, like South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia. So,
if there was any advice you feel you need to share, what would it be?
advice. In what respect, advice? And to whom?
Yeah. In general,
In general.
or well, any advice you have for teenagers growing up into adulthood?
Okay. The most important is school, education. I put great emphasis on education. I think that today's youth needs it more than ever, but I think that it's extremely important. It's something that you'll need for the rest of your life. And while you may not agree with everything, and you may not feel that you're accomplishing anything, it's the greatest system in the world, and it's the most valuable in the world for today's youth.
What kind of education did you get?
I was fortunate. At the time, the school system that I started in was one of the best in the state at that time. The universities I went to, which again was my choosing, I was fortunate that I picked some fairly decent schools to get my education. And again, the emphasis is education. And I have no regrets in that regard.
Were you in any small schools?
No, not really. Most of them were public schools and or universities that had large student bodies.
How many schools and universities did you go to?
Well, started at what they call the primary level, junior high school level, high school, 1, 2, 3 different universities. So that winds up to what, 8? Total of 8.
Is there anything you didn't like about getting your education?
Dislike. At the time, there was always things you didn't like. But in retrospect and looking back, it was the greatest time of your life. Really.
Is there any other advice you have for teenagers?
Well, again, which I said before, try and get as much of an education as you can. Enjoy the time you have while you're in school. Take advantage of everything that the school has to offer. Listen to your teachers, because they have the experience and the knowledge and the love to share it with you. So pay attention.
Can you learn outside of school?
Oh, definitely. That's one of the things about living in an area where life itself is an education.
What are some of the experiences that you've learned outside of school?
In addition to different jobs in different industries and the military, and just the fact that I've lived in different areas, not only of the country, but of different neighborhoods, meeting different people from different areas, that all combines into a unique experience.
Could you tell me about some of your experiences in the military?
Well, I took ROTC when I was in the first university, got a commission as a second lieutenant, went into the regular army. I was in there for 4 years, came out of first lieutenant, went into the reserves at that time because it was the law. I had to spend another 4 years, finished my obligation as a captain, and then about 6 or 7 years after that, I decided that I really liked that life somewhat, but I did have a family, so I went into the Coast Guard Reserve and spent 10 years in the Coast Guard, and finished my obligation there as a lieutenant commander. And I had many experiences on the ocean and up and down the east coast of the United States. Many different opportunities and adventures. In the Coast Guard, I was involved in search and rescue mainly. In the Army, back in the Army days, I was in the infantry as an infantry officer. Again, to pinpoint one specific area, just there were too many.
What was your favorite part about the military?
Pretty well all of it.
All of it?
I loved the discipline. I loved the structure. I loved the just the whole concept of it.
Is there anything you disliked about it?
Not really. I enjoyed my time there. And I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I had the opportunity and the privilege to serve my country. I was also very fortunate that I wasn't directly involved in any wars, which was very rare, but I just seemed to be there at the time where most of the United States was at peace with the world, but that was fine. I still served to the best of my ability.
So it was relatively safe overall?
As safe as being in the military can be. I mean, you are exposed to a lot of situations where you're using weapons of death, if you will, and you had to be on your toes and you had to be very careful. But overall, like I said, I really enjoyed it.
Did your family miss you?
To a great degree, oh yes. I mean, it goes without saying that even going away to college, your family misses you and you miss them. But that's part of growing up and that's part of life. That's the adjustment you make as you go through life. There are times where you can't be with your family 24/7. You have to make some sort of sacrifice to do something else, and that comes with it.
I'm sure they appreciated you being around a lot more when you came back.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. Or at least I hope they did. I think they did.
They didn't want to let go of you.
So.
Well, that about wraps up our interview.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
And I enjoy having your company, and thank you for your time.
And thank you.